everybody, how's it going? You can see, for those of you who made the comments on some of the previous videos, old Ruby's got her eyeballs back in. The headlights were just kind of hanging out. When we put the plasma cut hood on, the LED headlights just didn't go. They were too overbearing for the backlit hood. So went back to a standard looking, put a halogen in, but it's just a standard looking bulb. I think it looks a lot better. We switched to the LEDs and they are killer at nighttime because you can really see. But we went back to these and I even got the tiny little parking lights up front, little driving light up front working. So that is all buttoned back up. Just thought I'd give you a quick update on Pickle. We got something a little different planned today, but old Pickle the bus has floors in, cross braces, and all of the square tube that I used for the I-beam and top hat sections. The sills are in, and over here I have outriggers in on the passenger side. So I'll go ahead and jump over to this side and do outriggers on this side. I got tired of talking about flooring. I know you guys probably got tired of seeing it. I'm just so slow. The B-pillars will be kind of where we tackle the next big piece that we have to kind of tie everything in. And then once we get it all tied in, we'll flip them upside down, or sideways, and weld all of that permanent like. So that's where we are on those two vehicles. But today, got something a little bit different for you. Let's go check it out. Just thought I'd mention real quick why we got great lighting in here. This is starting to get that really nice surfaced rust, which is what I'm wanting it to do. So I left it untreated so that it would kind of start to do that. We're really close to where I want it to be. So then I'll come back out, I'll oil it and treat it, and that'll preserve it like that. When it gets dark, which won't be too much longer, I'll come out and I'll shoot some film with this lit up red, and then the lights, just the little parking lights or whatever, running lights, parking lights I think is what they're called. But I'll turn those on with the red. It looks pretty cool. So we're hoping to be able to run it maybe a little bit here in the next week or two. So I've had this old wheelbarrow I picked up at an auction. Here's the pieces to it sitting down there. And I've got a pattern in here that I would like to try and plasma cut. I don't know if I can pull this off or not, but we're going to give it a go. So the white lines are what stays. And I've just gone over with a weld pencil, chalk pencil, and kind of just sketched out what I want to cut. Show you what I'm talking about here. One of these little guys. It stays pretty well even with the air. So it is a waxy chalk, but in my experience it stays pretty good. Kind of looks like a hot mess right now. Kind of got a shell pattern going on. So let's see if we can pull it off. I've worked my little compressor pretty hard the last few days. Well, I've been at this for a little while now. I think that's about 5 hours of cutting on this thing. It's needs to be cleaned up on the backside. Probably got about another, I don't know, probably another hour left. Let's see if I can, I don't know if you can see that. Kill this light maybe. Here we go. So it's going to leave a pretty epic shadow once we kind of get it done. It's looking pretty good though. It's there's a 2x4 behind there. That's what's giving us that Right there. There's the 2x4 holding it up. It's not something I'd want to tackle every week, for sure. It's quite challenging. There's an artist that I absolutely love and adore her work, Cal Lane. If you don't follow Cal Lane, go check her stuff out. She was doing this before it was like hip and cool to do it, and she used to do it with an acetylene torch. So she has way more talent in her pinky finger than I have altogether. But I think it's gonna look okay. And you put the light underneath it. Try not to blind you here. It's coming along. I'm anxious to get it totally cut and the wheel back on it and the handles and everything. I think it'll look really cool once you have all that back there. I'll take a grinder with a flapper disc on it once I get it all cut and go and knock off all the kind of rough. Don't get too much slag if you've got the plasma cutter set right, but just the lines aren't quite as clean as I'd like them. So I'm going to find you a good example here. Like right here. This is a good. You can see how that's kind of got that, just that slag. And a lot of times you can just pick it with your finger and it'll pick off. But I'm going to go clean all of that up once we kind of get done with it. It's cold. I have to leave the door open when I cut. I would be just cutting outside, but it's so cold. I got my little heater running down here. I keep having to do jumping jacks to stay warm. But I can't cut it with the door all the way down because it smokes at the house. So I'll keep at it and bring you back when we get it done. I'm happy with how it's going though. I've learned a lot. This is the first time I've cut something like this, so take a look at it again. Yeah, I've learned a lot. I've learned what not to do's. So definitely the next time I cut one, and there will be a next time I'm sure, but the next time I cut one I'm going to cut it from the opposite side I think, because it's hard to cut in a bowl. So I learned that. But you know, with plasma cutting often there is a wrong and right side, so there's a sidedness to the cut. There's a cleaner side and a rougher side, but you can always clean up that other side. Yeah, I think the next time I'll cut one, turn the tub to the wheelbarrow the other way and make the pattern on the other side. My brain doesn't do negative space very well, so I had to go back in with a Sharpie. So all of the white is basically what stays. I had to go back in with a Sharpie because my brain just can't compute very well when it comes to that. All right, shall we? Well, the wheelbarrow is cut. It's all cut. I gotta go back and clean up some of my stuff on the back of it. It's funny because when you're just looking at it through the film, it looks like a flat piece, but it's not. It's got a pretty good angle to it. Oops, sorry, I mean to blind you there. Hang on. Let's try that again. It's got a pretty good angle, but looking at it this way, it looks like it's just a flat piece of steel. It's funny how the camera makes that not look like what you're really looking at. Anyway, it's pretty good. It's not perfect for my first attempt at one of these. I did learn a lot of things. This one's cut, the negative space is cut, whereas on the car hood and the fender and the other stuff I've done, it's opposite. So my brain would kind of had to think about things a little differently. There's the shadow that it casts, which is pretty good. Making you dizzy? So I think once it's all reassembled and cleaned up and back together, it's going to be a pretty cool piece for somebody. Get it off. Yeah, it feels pretty good. I cooked my good grinder. Good's a relative term. The brushes are out in this. I like this grinder because the weight of the grinder, it's so heavy. You really don't have to push too hard on the grinder. But I've wedged aluminum foil and everything in to kind of make the brushes where they'll touch, and it's done. So I had to jump to the other one. But that looks pretty decent. Let's see, we'll put it back together. Needs some rust on it though. A little light surface rust with some oil on it, make it just perfect. So we may have to set it outside after we get it all reassembled. I've started sweeping it into a pile now, but that's all the debris left over from the wheelbarrow. And I've got all of this up here that we gotta clean off. But I thought I'd go ahead and sweep the floor up first before we take the air hose and kind of blow that out. Ay, ay, ay. That doesn't look like much, but including what's in my barrel outside, that's probably about, I don't know, 2.5 inches deep on that pile, and it's pretty much just pure metal. So that's what is left. Most of the pieces went in the barrel. I try to cut and collect all that so it doesn't have to get swept up. So let's pour it into the recycling bin and then subtract out our dustpan. See how much weight we had. That probably won't sit there now. There we go. So about 3 pounds of steel powder. Probably won't hold too much concrete anymore. Or sand or whatever I want to put in it. But it looks pretty cool. Well, not the most interesting of backgrounds there. I got my Mini in the background. Probably would have been a little better if I put a beetle back there or a bus or something. But it is a completed project now, the wheelbarrow. This arm was bent towards the Mini a little bit, and I heated it and bent it forward. It needs to come forward just a little bit more. And then I need to go and knock the concrete off in a couple areas from where it was on the handle there. Just kind of takes away from it. So I think if I go knock that off, hit that with the wire wheel or grinder or something and knock it off. But it's always amazing to me how when you plasma cut something, it doesn't really look that great when you're up close, but when you step away, the patterning and the design just kind of pops when you got the light behind it. It also, when you first look at this wheelbarrow, because it is square, your eye does this funny thing where it actually makes it look flat, and it is not. So it does this weird, there's a big bend in the, probably need to straighten that out, but it does that kind of weird, makes it look flat. I think because the shape of the wheelbarrow is square, maybe. I don't know, maybe it would do it with a round one too. And then I'm gonna let it sit out for a day or two and let it build up some surface rust there where I knock the slag off the back. I like to knock that off. I don't edit, for lack of a better term, but I don't go through and edit my cuts with the grinder, but I do knock off the slag because I'm afraid kids or elderly people might cut themselves if it's too sharp on there. Because I put a lot of this stuff out at art shows and at a store that's out at the mall, the local mall. So I don't want to leave a point where they come up and reach behind and cut themselves. So I try to make it where it's not sharp. Yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't want to cut one every week. It's not something I would want to do all the time, but it's pretty fun. What are we going to build next? Huh? Open to suggestions. Leave it down in the comments. Thought I'd bring it out here and show you the cool pattern that it makes when it's the light's coming from the front side or the back side, either way, but when it's coming through it, not just sitting in a dark garage like we were before, really makes a cool pattern. Look at that. Imagine if you had that lit properly, sitting in a space at a restaurant or something. hotel, how cool that would be. Or even in your house, if you had the right house for it. I like it. I almost like the shadow better than I do the piece. I've also been building these little cameras made out of taper bearing. This one has a square, a framing square cut up in sections behind it. This is a sewing machine part. And you can see how the lens leaves that. I'll put some pictures of this one that I took up. And then this is a dental casting machine gauge. It's just a piece of pipe. This is one of those gate latch receivers. You slide the deadbolt kind of thing in there. And then there's the remaining portion of the framing square on there. And then just some chain welded together. This one actually looks like a real camera when you look at it. And then I'll put pictures of the other one I made. I don't have it. It's actually at the store where I keep some stuff in the mall here in Bloomington. But they're kind of fun. This one even has the focus ring. Still works. They're really, really fun to make. I'd say this one probably weighs close to 10 pounds. It's pretty hefty. Just thought I'd show you those. Or at least one of them. Before it goes to its new home. She's coming to pick it up today. Kind of fun. And here's what you get now. So now the two headlights don't really drown out your backlit hood. So it looks a lot better, I think. It's, of course, illegal to run red down the road on the front of a vehicle. Let's see what we get. Can't remember which one we were using. Was that it? Can't see. There we go. That's the one we're using. There. Let's see what that looks like. But you can run it down the road with that. So I definitely think that was a big improvement to what we had before. So we're going to go with it for a while. See what happens. See if we can stir up any conversations. I like it. And even with the headlights on all the way, the hood is still visible. With those LEDs, it just got completely lost. So even with those on, they are on dim. But with them turned on, you can still see the hood really clearly. Yeah, that'll do. Anyway, I'll leave you with that. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.